Sterling Short Stories. Step into the story.
Is Bigfoot real? What if I told you Bigfoot was real? Would you believe it? Yeah. Probably not, right? Well, I'm here to tell you it is. And not in the way you think. It is a bloodthirsty killer. It all started in the dense Pacific Northwest forest. It was cloaked in fog, the towering evergreens stretching skyward like jagged sentinels. I gripped my camera tightly, my breath forming clouds in the crisp night air. For years I had been chasing legends, the Loch Ness Monster, haunted lighthouses, but this time was different. This time, it was personal. Bigfoot, the creature of countless grainy photos and whispered campfire tales. I didn't care if people laughed at me. I wasn't here for fame or fortune. I was here because I had no choice. My sister Claire disappeared 6 months ago while hiking in these woods. The last voicemail she left me was burned into my memory. "It's real, Eric. Then silence. Cedar Hollow, the small town on the edge of the forest, greeted me with the usual mix of intrigue and suspicion. Locals muttered about the woods, strange noises, missing hikers, and eyes that glowed in the dark. The warnings all ended the same way. Don't go looking for it. If you see it, run. But running wasn't an option, not for me. The forest seemed alive that night, every creak and rustle amplified in the suffocating silence. My flashlight cut a narrow path through the mist, revealing little but moss and shadows. I followed the trail my sister had mapped out in her notes, but the deeper I went, the more I felt like the forest itself was watching me. Hours passed before I found it. A footprint, embedded deep in the mud. It was enormous, with wide, splayed toes. My stomach churned, but I knelt to take a photo. That's when I heard it. A low, guttural growl that seemed to vibrate through my bones. I froze, scanning the trees. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. The growl came again, closer this time. Something massive moved in the shadows. My flashlight flickered, and for a brief moment I saw it, towering, covered in dark, matted fur, its eyes glowing like embers. I couldn't believe it was actually Bigfoot. But it was. Panic surged, but I couldn't look away. The creature's eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, neither of us moved. Then it let out a bone-chilling howl and lunged. I stumbled backward, barely dodging as its massive hand swiped at me, claws raking the air. My camera tumbled into the mud, forgotten. I ran. Branches tore at my clothes and face as I barreled through the forest, the sound of heavy footfalls crashing behind me. My lungs burned, and every instinct screamed to keep moving. But the thing was fast, faster than anything that size should be. I tripped, hitting the ground hard. Pain shot through my ankle as I scrambled to my feet. The creature emerged from the shadows, its breath steaming in the cold air. It didn't look like a curious animal. It looked angry, hungry. Desperate, I pulled out my hunting knives. "Stay back!" I shouted, though my voice cracked with fear. The creature paused, cocking its head like it was amused. Then it lunged again. I don't know how I survived. Adrenaline blurred everything into a chaotic frenzy of thrashing limbs and deafening roars. One of the knives connected, and the creature howled in pain, retreating into the darkness. I staggered away, every nerve screaming for me to keep moving. When I finally stopped, I realized I had no idea where I was. The forest stretched endlessly in every direction, the trees like prison bars. My flashlight was gone, and the only light came from the faint glow of the moon. My ankle throbbed with every step, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't let it catch me. Then I saw it, a small clearing up ahead. Relief flooded me as I limped toward it, only to freeze when I saw what was there. Bones, piles of them, bleached white by time. Some were animal, but others were unmistakably human. And among them, I saw something that made my blood run cold. My sister's backpack. A menacing snarl reverberated through the clearing, primal and guttural, as though it emanated from the depths of something ancient and merciless. I turned slowly, the knife trembling in my hand. The creature was back, its glowing eyes fixed on me. This time, there was no hesitation, no games. It wanted me dead. I raised the knife, ready to fight, when something unexpected happened. The ground beneath me gave way, and I fell into darkness. Above, the creature peered down, its fiery eyes the last thing I saw before it disappeared. The pit was deep and the walls were slick with moss. As I struggled to stand, a horrible realization dawned on me. This wasn't an accident. The pit was a trap. And I wasn't the first one to fall into it. For hours I screamed for help, but no one came. The pit was littered with the remains of the creature's victims, the air thick with the stench of decay. My sister had been here. She had fought just as I had, but she hadn't made it out. The glow of the creature's eyes returned, and I knew my time was up. It wasn't a myth. It wasn't a guardian of the forest. It was a predator, and I was its prey. As the darkness closed in, I thought of Claire, of her final message, and of the warning I had ignored. I gasped as it pounced down into the pit that became a graveyard for many. The ground shook, and shock waves rumbled as it landed. Its monstrous frame towered over me, making me look small and fragile. It leaned in close and gave a bone-chilling growl. I cowered and balled into a fetal position. I forced myself to look up at it. I wish I didn't. As daylight broke, the last thing I saw was it raise its large hands over its head. And then... nothing. Like and subscribe to Sterling Short Stories on YouTube. But only if you dare.